Outlook, new tonight on our news live at 7. Reported child abuse statistics are up as officials work to set up education and safety programming in schools. Plus, do you have anything to declare? A new app for customs exemptions will become mandatory this summer. We'll tell you what you need to know. Plus, when the Hilton in downtown Nassau will reopen its doors. And then at our news at 7:30, the Court of Appeal rejecting a petition to appeal the prison sentence of a man who slit a teacher's throat. Our news live at 7 starts now. Welcome to our news live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kendino Knowles. The Customs Department is about to introduce a new mandatory electronic application for baggage declarations beginning this summer. If you're a frequent flyer or planning summer vacation right now, we'll tell you more about it in just a moment. But we begin with new reported child abuse statistics, which according to officials are up this year. Marlena Leonard has the numbers.
Officials from the Department of Social Services releasing the latest statistics on child abuse in New Providence. The statistics come ahead of Child Protection Month, which will be observed in April. The new stats cover the period from January to March of 2023. For just the first 3 months of 2023, the department's intake reports show 51 cases of sexual abuse compared to the 28 cases at this time last year, and 43 cases of physical abuse compared to the 15 cases in the first quarter of 2022. Last year, the department saw 391 child abuse cases either newly reported or reopened, almost half of those cases made up either by physical or sexual abuse. This spike in reported numbers may be the result of the efforts to publicize the national hotlines of the Department of Social Services where people can report abuse. Deputy Director of the Department of Social Services, Charlemagne Fernander, leaves us with this message.
Every adult throughout this nation has a duty to advise children otherwise. What is right and what is wrong, what's acceptable, what is not. Because if we ruin the young people of today, we have nothing to look forward to. It is in everybody's best interest to make sure that we teach our children how they should be cared for, how they should be loved.
She adds that they will specifically be going into schools to speak with children about Child Protection Month.
We are going to be speaking directly to children in person across the Bahamas about what is acceptable behavior toward them and what is not. We have found that very often children endure certain behavior because it's coming from or perpetrated by persons that they're supposed to love and trust in their homes, in their environments, and they come to believe that such treatment is normal, so to speak, when in fact it is not.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
All right, thanks a lot, Marlena. And that information was released during press conference held under the theme One Nation Uniting to Protect Our Children, with a panel of school-age children urging the public to take child abuse more seriously. Our Marlena Leonard has more on those kids and their remarks. That's coming up in our news at 7:30. But now to charges that have been upgraded against a man accused of a double shooting through Key West Street on Valentine's Day. 18-year-old Antoine Adderley initially faced murder and attempted murder charges following a drive-by shooting that left Gordon McKenzie dead and Ingramson Toussaint injured. Police say the victims were sitting in a yard on Key West Street when two gunmen opened fire on them. However, Toussaint died in hospital on March 6th, a week after Adderley was first charged. Adderley now faces 2 counts of murder. He was not required to enter pleas to the upgraded charges. When he appeared before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt, he remains on remand at the Department of Corrections. And police in New Providence say they are aggressively searching for 2 men they say are behind a shooting that landed a man in hospital. The incident unfolding on Wednesday around 6:25 p.m. as the victim was fixing his vehicle at the front of his Seabreeze Lane home. That's when police say 2 men in a dark-colored Nissan Cube exited and opened fire. The victim was shot multiple times and the suspects escaped. The victim was taken to the Princess Margaret Hospital in a private vehicle where he is listed in serious condition. Investigations are ongoing. And now for those frequent travelers, the Customs Department rolling out a new app to make baggage declarations easier. It's called the Exempt Mobile Baggage Declaration app and will be mandatory come June 12th this year. The app will facilitate the electronic submission of baggage declaration or Form C-17.
This app requires a one-time registration using an email and a private password provided by the user. Once you are logged into the app, you would proceed to the Account tab, click Update, scan your passport, and the app will pick up the embedded information from the passport, such as your NIB information and your date of birth details.
That was Customs Officer Nadia Newton-Williams talking about the app. Now, officials say the app also allows you to pay online. How-to videos are also available now on the Customs Department's YouTube page.
We are here to say today that the power has now been put in the hands of the users. The exam has the following features and benefits. First and foremost, it's paperless. Forms are filled out and submitted through the app. Receipts and all the other documentation needed by Customs, as your permits, are scanned before submission of your declaration. All of your pass forms are saved in the comfort of your account.
All right, now to learn more on that, be sure and visit ournews.bs. We've got a whole lot more to get to in a moment, but for now, it's time for your first look at temperatures across the islands. Meteorologist Greg Thompson, he's in the Weather Center with the latest. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Kendina. Happy Thursday evening, everybody. Frontal boundary now into the central Bahamas with some cloudy conditions still sagging behind it. Partly cloudy outside our studios right now. It is breezy, temperatures in the mid-70s, 76. Your winds out of the northeast at 18 miles per hour, and your feels like temperature is at 75. Right now, it's 75 degrees in Freeport, 76 in Marsh Harbor, Abaco, 78 in Allenstown, Bimini, over in Great Harbor Key, 77. We pick up 76s in Nicholstown, Andros here in the capital, as well as in Governor's Harbor. Central Bahamas, 77 in Kemps Bay, 76s in Arthurstown, Cat Island, and Cuban Towns in Salvador, 78 in Georgetown. That's in Exumas, Deadman's Key, Long Island, 79. 80 in Duncantown, Ragged Island, Colonel Hill, Cricket Island, as well as Delectable Bay in Auckland, 79s there. 81 in Abrahams Bay, Matthewtown, Inagua, and our neighbors at the southeast, Tricks and Caicos Islands, you guys are currently 80 at this hour. On our satellite, that frontal boundary now sagging into the central Bahamas. Some showers passed through the capital earlier today, brief, but we did get a couple of raindrops here. Most of the activity now is to the west of Andros. That front will continue to sag towards south into the central Bahamas, so some showers and isolated thunderstorms possible across that area tonight. This front is expected to wash out before the weekend, and high pressure will be building in for the weekend. That is the first check on weather. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast still to come.
Thanks, Greg. And still to come on our news, the Hilton in downtown Nassau could be welcoming new guests this winter. New details straight ahead. Plus, a world-class luxury resort is set for Grand Bahama, creating opportunities in the second city. And later, a final send-off for retired Assistant Commissioner of Police, Leon Bethel. The story on the other side of the break.
At Doctors Hospital, our lamp just got brighter. The Loyalty Advantage membership program now has 3 unique plans to choose from. From Lamp Prepaid with free prime care visits and service line discounts, Lamp Insured with copay waivers and 0 upfront collections at the ER and inpatient services, or our new Lamp Access, a free plan that offers 10% off lab, pharmacy, and imaging. Lamp has a plan for everyone. To sign up, visit our website or give us a call. Doctors Hospital, trusted and best care now.
The historic Hilton Hotel set to open this winter, according to Press Secretary Clint Watson. It's owned by China Construction America, the same company that owns Margaritaville at the Point. As for whether the hotel has been sold, Watson could not say.
I can't say. I can just tell you, according to Minister of Tourism, that renovations have begun and it'll open in winter. I don't want to get into assuming what may have happened, but I can tell you, if renovations have begun and we expect it to open in winter, then chances are somebody's going to be operating it in the winter.
This segment of the news is brought to you by H.G. Christie. List your home in Grand Bahama with H.G. Christie. Visit our new office in the Port Lakaya Marketplace. H.G. Christie, celebrating over 100 years of service.
Grand Bahama set to be home to a new world-class luxury resort, Six Senses Grand Bahama. The resort is expected to boost tourism development and investment, much needed for that rebounding island. Tonight, the developer sharing how they plan to create opportunities for the second city with social and environmental responsibility at the forefront. Megan Shepard has the story.
I don't want to overstate it, but I don't want it to get lost on anybody either. Arguably, we have the #1 brand in the world coming here to Grand Bahama.
President and founding partner of Weller Development, Mark Weller, noting that the Six Senses luxury project is expected to be significant for Grand Bahama's image and branding. The resort will sit on 36 acres, feature a hotel, 45 canal front villas, and 20 branded residences.
It's very limited in nature. It's rather high end, but it needs to be serviced and it needs to be built. So it's very good for local economies. It's generally very thoughtful and low scale. Like I said, these are not big buildings. They're limited in size. You can see these houses. The biggest house would be 6,300. That's a pretty big house, but the average size is going to be like 4,500 or 5,000 feet for these houses. And they'll be very high end, and they'll be able to be serviced by the hotel. And then we have amenities, including the Six Senses Spa. We'll have several restaurants, Earth Lab, which will be really interesting.
Weller adding the Bahamas takes sustainable tourism very seriously, and the brand will focus on that as a priority. And as to why Grand Bahama, Weller says the island's natural beauty, the proximity to the United States, and the people.
What sealed the deal for me, going through tough times in 2020, the airport was pretty tough. We were underneath a tent. It was very hot. And I sat down. I had about 45 minutes to wait, and I met some incredible people. And meeting those people and spending time with those people, talking to them, people working at the airport, I was convinced this was a place I wanted to be. They were so sincere, they were so passionate, they were so comfortable, and they were so nice.
Once opened, a portion of the hotel revenues will be directed toward marine conservation, coral restoration, and other community initiatives. Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
All right, thanks a lot, Megan. Well, Housing Minister JoBeth Colby-Davis says the new subdivision, the housing subdivision that's underway in Rock Sound in Eleuthera, is well underway. Ground was broken in July last year, and now Colby-Davis is speaking to a hopeful completion date.
I think they have roofs on many of the homes now. It's probably about 7 of them, and we're doing the work on the surveying of the rest of the land so we can get started with many more and rolling out. And so that's exciting. We hope to have those done very soon so we can be handing keys over shortly. I'm hopeful that it's in the summer. Yeah.
As for a rent-to-own program over in Abaco, Colby-Davis saying those homes could soon see the installation of Ring home security systems. She also indicated plans for more systems in New Providence.
We have the rent-to-own first set of homes. It's about 4 homes that we have in Abaco, and because we are still the owners of those homes, because it'll be rented or leased until they enter into their mortgage, Housing specifically will be getting the product set up at our homes as well to provide that extra safety net to persons that enter into that program.
When our news comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as teachers in Grenada are set for a salary increase. Plus, a huge win in the fight against climate change, and it all started in a classroom. And later, paying final respects to retired Assistant Commissioner of Police Leon Bethel. Story when Our News returns.
1771.
This is our news. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. CNN is reporting that a Manhattan grand jury has voted to indict Donald Trump, citing 3 sources familiar with the matter. It marks the first time in American history that a current or former president will face criminal charges. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office has been investigating his alleged role in a hush money payment scheme and cover-up involving adult film star Stormy Daniels. CNN saying the legal action against Trump jolts the 2024 presidential campaign into a new phase as the former president has vowed to keep running in the face of criminal charges.
And yet, after going over 11 million pages of documents, I built a great company. They've got nothing. They've got nothing. Think of it. 11 million pages. And my tax returns on top of it, and they're a big return. It probably makes me the most innocent man in the history of our country. Friends of mine say that.
Russia's FSB security service says it has detained a reporter for the Wall Street Journal on suspicion of spying for the U.S. government. The arrest of an American citizen is the most serious public move against a foreign journalist since Russia invaded Ukraine. Matthew Laratonda from our partners at Reuters reports.
Evan Gershkovich, the American Wall Street Journal reporter arrested in Russia on espionage allegations, was brought to a quick and closed-door hearing at a Moscow court Thursday, according to his lawyer, who was not allowed inside or to see the charges against his client. Russia's FSB security service says it arrested Gershkovich on suspicion of spying for the American government, which a state-owned news agency reports he has pled not guilty to. The detention is the most serious public move against a foreign journalist in Russia since the beginning of the Ukraine war.
Missouri Senator Josh Hawley tried to force a Senate vote Wednesday on legislation to ban TikTok from operating in the United States, but he was blocked by a fellow Republican as lawmakers in both chambers are still trying to figure out what action, if any, is appropriate against the social media app. He says the bill sends the message to communist China that you cannot buy us. Influencers joined lawmakers outside of Congress on Wednesday to protest restrictions.
So I urge you to consider the impact that banning TikTok could have on people like me. It would not only take away a source of income, but it would also stifle creativity and prevent talented individuals from sharing their art with the world. Thank you.
We can keep TikTok, we can protect freedom of speech, and we could deal with the privacy concerns at the same time. We could do both, and right now we're not trying to do both.
And from the region, Mexican authorities say 8 employees are being investigated for possible misconduct at a migrant detention center where a fire killed 39 detained men on Monday. Officials appear to place blame for the deaths largely on private subcontracted security guards. No charges were announced, but authorities say they will seek at least 4 more arrest warrants. And finally, teachers in Grenada will receive a salary increase as government and the Grenada Union of Teachers signed collective agreements today covering the period 2023 to 2025. Negotiations began in December last year. GUT President General Jude Bartholomew describing the signing as historic, noting unions most times would have to march on the streets and go through the Labor Commission process for a salary increase.
We may not have gotten, and you'll never be able to get all that you really want and you hope to. But at the same time, when you come together and such, we come to a common understanding, and we think that we're at a very good place. And at this time, when the government of Grenada would have, paid pension, deduct salary, 23% for TAMCC who haven't been paid for a long period of time, and recognizing all the different things that the government is doing for workers, we just want to show some praise and appreciation to the Honorable Deacon Mitchell and his administration.
All right, that puts a wrap on stories from across the world. But now to this, a huge win for students in several Pacific Island nations on the climate change front as their petition made it to the UN General Assembly. Christina Dragovich explains in tonight's Sustainability First report.
Bahamas First, putting sustainability first for our people and our environment. What's first for you and the planet comes first for us.
the Assembly decides to adopt draft resolution A/77/L58.
With that, the United Nations General Assembly voted to pass a resolution asking the International Court of Justice to rule to establish obligations countries have to address in the climate crisis. The push came from a group of students, Pacific Island students fighting climate change. The group's president, Cynthia, explains what it means.
We are in the critical decade, so it's good that people, and especially influential leaders, acknowledging that.
Cynthia and students from 8 other Pacific Island states ignited a campaign in 2019 fighting for a legal opinion that would call for stronger measures and clarify international law around climate change. It's something that began as a, quote, wild idea, and now it could have implications for countries all over the world facing climate change.
We're not looking at is it fair or not. It is, on the face of it, it is not fair. However, we don't have the luxury of talking about it, we need to act.
At COP26 in Glasgow, Scotland in 2021, Prime Minister Philip Davis made the case for climate financing, noting climate adaptation and mitigation financing will take billions of dollars. Over the next year and a half, the court will establish an advisory opinion to clarify the financial obligations of countries on climate change and help them to enhance plans under the Paris Agreement. Reporting for Our News, I'm Christina Dragovich.
Still to come in our news, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was March 30th and the arrival of the first batch of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine in the country. Greg is back a little later with your extended weather forecast, and also in our news at 7:30, legendary singer Phil Stubbs is set to make his return to the stage. We speak with him about what he's been up to when our news continues. Welcome back to our news. Retired Assistant Commissioner of Police Leon Bethel was laid to rest today following a military funeral at Christ Church Cathedral. That was followed by a march from the church through Bay Street to Rawson Square. Bethel's casket was draped with a Bahamian flag and was flanked by senior members of the Royal Bahamas Police Force. After many years of dedicated service to the police force, Bethel retired and was called to the Bahamas bar. Bethel and his son ran a security company that oversaw the ankle monitor program. Our condolences to his family. Well, it's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was March 30th and the arrival of COVID-19 vaccines included in this historical recap. This day in Bahamian history, in 2013, the Bahamas hosted the 42nd Carifta Games at the new state-of-the-art $30 million Thomas A. Robinson National Stadium. It was the 7th time the Bahamas hosted the regional games. Then Prime Minister Perry Christie expressing pride when he officially opened the games, where several Bahamian athletes advanced to the finals. Then in 2014, many taxpayers were still on the fence about the introduction of value-added tax, saying Bahamians were just not ready.
As an accountant, a chartered accountant, as a businessman myself, a partner in Grant Thornton, we don't like uncertainty. We like to deal with certainty.
The tax eventually took effect the following year in 2015. And still on this day in 2015, Donna Vasili, the wife of noted Australian podiatrist Dr. Philip Vasili, was charged with his murder. He was found face down in a pool of blood inside the guest house kitchen at the couple's home in Old Fort Bay by their gardener. His wife, who was tried twice for the crime, was acquitted on March 10th this year. Also in 2015, Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival organizers announced world-renowned soca artist Machel Montano as the headlining act. Then in 2016, Monique Gomez was appointed senator for the then-opposition Free National Movement. In making the appointment, then-opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis said he was confident she would serve the nation with distinction. And finally, in 2021, Bahamians, while still under a state of emergency, witnessed the arrival of the first batch of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine from the COVAX facility. Their arrival coincided with ongoing political campaigning that led to controversy over social distancing protocols. Their arrival coincided with ongoing political campaigning that led to controversy over social distancing protocols, which then Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis defended.
Would have seen them still spacing out somewhat, and each and everyone, regardless of the political organization, each and everyone were wearing a mask.
Now to watch that historical recap again, and for all of today's top stories, you can visit ournews.bs. That's going to do it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is Italia Holm. She's got the latest headlines. Italia, I know you spoke with a music legend today.
I did.
What was that like?
Exciting. You know, it was such an honor just to be in his presence and to hear the history.
Yeah.
The history, that's most important.
I got to shake his hand too.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, it was great. And to know that he now resides in Grand Bahama. And so,
of course,
yeah,
of course.
Great stuff.
Good
Great
TV
stuff.
plug.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks so much, Ken.
I'm looking forward to the story.
I am too.
Yeah.
All right, well, a spotlight on sex crimes leave lasting impact and why the Court of Appeal is rejecting a murder charge petition. Here are your latest headlines.
New tonight on Our News Live at 7:30. As child abuse cases raise alarm in the country, a therapist explains the lasting impact sexual abuse can have on victims. The Court of Appeal rejects a convicted killer's bid to appeal his 35-year prison sentence. Plus, why a former cabinet minister thinks it's unrealistic to think CARICOM's intervention can help Haiti's crisis. And the legendary Phil Stubbs is set to make a return to the stage with his well-known hits that tell the stories of the nation. We'll tell you when and how you can see him perform. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment.
With over
It's your thing. Do what you want to do. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. It's your thing. Do what you want to do.
Shareholders are very happy.
It's your thing.
Welcome to our news and thank you for joining us. I'm Natalia Hall. Topping news tonight, the Court of Appeal has rejected a killer's bid to reopen his appeal against his 35-year prison sentence for the murder of Spanish teacher Dale Hepburn. Sherman Rodriguez pleaded guilty to Hepburn's murder in 2015. He was sentenced to 35 years in prison, less the 5 years he'd spent on remand. Now, in 2016, the Court of Appeal affirmed the sentence after rejecting his appeal. 7 years later, he asked the Court of Appeal to rehear his appeal against his sentence. However, the court rejected his second bid to get a sentence reduction. On November 2nd, 2004, he went to Hepburn's home in Golden Gates and asked to use the phone. After she let him in, he slit Hepburn's throat and rummaged through her home in search of money. Well, police have taken firearms and a quantity of drugs off the streets of New Providence. Reports of that around 8:10 p.m. on Wednesday while on mobile patrol through New Hope Drive off East Street South. Drug Enforcement Unit officers saw a man acting suspiciously while driving a red Chevy Cruze. As a result, the car was stopped and the driver was instructed to exit the vehicle before officers searched it. During the search, the officers found marijuana and the suspect was arrested. A short time later, officers along with the suspect went to his home in Misty Gardens off Cowpen Road. It was there where the officers executed a search warrant and searched the home. While doing so, the officers found a large quantity of suspected marijuana along with 2 high-powered weapons and ammunition. The drugs weighed 3 pounds, 1 ounce and have an estimated street value of $3,720. Investigations are continuing. With an uptick in reported sex crimes, many perpetrators have been brought before the courts. But what happens to the victims of the senseless crimes? Well, tonight a local therapist weighs in. Jamila Mizik reports.
Despite a rise in reported sexual abuse in the country, mental health counselor Jessica Russell says this has been a long-standing issue. She says being the victim of a sexual crime impacts just about every area of their life.
It would impact their romantic relationships, obviously. It'll impact how they relate to people. There will be impact seen at work. It could impact how they parent as well. So typically what's most commonly seen is PTSD. They might have flashbacks, nightmares, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, self-harm, thoughts of suicide, attempts, or death by suicide.
She says their ability to trust is also sometimes compromised.
Something like this would make it very hard to trust people, especially when you consider the fact that most perpetrators are known to the victims. It's your friend, your parent, your step-parent, your aunt, your uncle, your cousin, your sibling, your husband, your partner.
Russell says while it can be a difficult thing to talk about, talking about it does help.
What is most helpful in order to recover from something like this is to be met with non-judgmental support. So if you're a loved one who's trying to support somebody through something like this, it's important to listen to them, to believe them, educate yourself as well, because try not to tell them what to do or how they should feel, and just be that support for them.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Mizik.
All right, thanks for that, Jamila. Well, students from schools across New Providence held a press conference with officials from the Department of Social Services to kick off Child Protection Month, which will begin in April. Our Marlena Leonard has a story on the unique voices from our nation's youth.
Child Protection Month is a few days away, and this morning children hosted a press conference held at the Department of Social Services. The press conference was held under the theme, One Nation, Uniting to Protect Our Children, hosted by officials from the Department of Social Services in conjunction with the National Child Protection Council. 11-year-old Nyla Simonette gave heartfelt remarks, speaking to the responsibility of both adults and children in the protection of our nation's most vulnerable.
We should be allowed to focus on being children. We should be loved and cared for. We should be allowed to laugh and play. We should be able to focus on school and get good grades. We should be happy and carefree. It should not hurt to be a child. We should not be exposed to physical and verbal abuse from anyone, most especially not from the people in our lives who should be, and I quote, teaching us well, letting us lead the way, and showing us all the beauty we possess inside.
The panel featured students from St. Augustine's College, Galilee College, the Bahamas Association for the Physically Disabled, A.F. Adderley Junior High School, and Queen's College.
I thought it was important because people need to understand the issues that are happening as it relates to child abuse, because you got to see how the children felt and you got to understand their perspectives.
I got relief about it because there are a lot of children out there, they're lost, they're abused, they're hurt, so me getting a chance to express myself to them, I got a good kick out of it.
I feel great about it because we are all children and we all should be respected, and so I'm happy that children were able to speak today.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Lennon.
All right, thanks, Marlena. While we saw storm clouds gathering in the capital today, meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with a check on weather. Greg?
Thanks, Natalia, and welcome everybody for our first quick check on weather conditions outside our studios. Right now it's 76 degrees under partly cloudy skies, and it is breezy. Your winds are out of the northeast at 18 miles per hour, and your feels like temperature is at 75. Satellite view, we have that frontal boundary now sagging into the central Bahamas, passed through the capital. Earlier today we got a few showers out of that. Most of the activity is to the west of Andros right now and moving into the central Bahamas. High pressure will build across us, and that will continue to provide some breezy conditions tonight through tomorrow. That's your first quick check on weather. Stick with us. A look at your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on Our News, a former cabinet minister gives his take on how effective CARICOM's Help for Haiti will be. And shelter in a time of need. Our government is helping Bimini fire victims who were left homeless. And later, we'll tell you how much is being spent to prepare for the upcoming CRIFTA Games. That's all coming up on the other side of this break. Supreme Court Justice Deborah Frazier handing down another order in the ongoing court matter between Free National Movement Vice Chairman Richard Johnson and the party leadership. In a ruling, Justice Frazier instructing all parties to refrain from any personal attacks on each other and any other member of the FNM in the press or on any social media platform, otherwise pending the determination of the action or further court order. All parties were also told to comply with the Constitution of the FNM and attend any meetings or functions. Johnson is seeking $500,000 in damages for loss of unlawful interference with his membership and mental distress. The court action followed a vote to ban him from attending council meetings. A former FNM cabinet minister doesn't believe CARICOM will be able to improve conditions in Haiti, adding that Haitian people have a history of resistance. Berthy McDermott has his candid comments in this report.
As countries bind together to lend aid to Haiti amid ongoing instability, former Deputy Prime Minister Desmond Bannister says CARICOM can't help Haiti. He explains why.
It's unrealistic to think that CARICOM could do anything about what's happening in Haiti. That's unrealistic. We are small countries. We don't have the military might.
Bannister's comments follow a CARICOM meeting to assist Haiti and after Canada pledged millions of dollars in support to Haiti as well as military help. The former Carmichael MP predicts the environment in Haiti won't change.
Throughout their history, they've had to fight in that country. And so what you see in Haiti now, the turmoil you see, is not going to go away. It doesn't matter who goes in there.
But as countries unite to support Haiti, the Bahamas grapples with an influx of Haitian migrants, sometimes by the boatloads. Immigration Minister Keith Bell says over 1,100 migrants have been repatriated so far this year, the majority of them Haitian nationals. Bannister says Haiti's history is one that saw other countries go into Haiti and try to assist. He believes it has caused the people to be resistant.
Notwithstanding all the things that have happened, all that has done is build up the resistance among the Haitian people. And so no matter who goes in there now, the only thing they're going to do, and this is why I believe a lot of the countries have not done it, the powerful countries of the world have not done it, they know they're going to lose the lives of their citizens who they put in there, because the Haitian people will rebel and they will fight. They will not accept occupation.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthy McDermott.
Officials from the Department of Social Services now moving to assist Biminites with housing after a fire in that community last week. Press Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Clint Watson.
They've been able to identify some apartments to temporarily house persons who have lost their homes. Those who work for Bimini Big Game, the hotel has said they will take care of housing for those employees who were impacted. And so that will provide temporary relief for a housing situation. The Ministry of Social Services also provided vouchers for the local stores there so that persons impacted could get the necessary toiletries, some clothing, some food to be able to carry them through for a certain period of time.
12 people were left homeless after the early morning blaze on Sunday. Prime Minister Philip Davis led a delegation, which included Health Minister Dr. Michael Darville and Social Services Minister and Area MP Obi Wilchcombe. Watson adds that more is still to come this week for those residents, adding that an assessment will follow.
Urban Renewal is also working with them to ensure whatever other needs are met. That happens. You would have heard that there is a mobile passport team to go to the island from Foreign Affairs, the passport office, to be able to help with the replacement of documents that would have been damaged in the fire. So there's a lot going on this week to stabilize and to help provide whatever necessary relief. Once that's done, there's an assessment, obviously, that's done with social services to determine what other further extent they may need to be helped.
All right, well, Agriculture and Marine Resources Minister Clay Sweeting responding tonight to a Partiskeet vendor who claims the ministry is seeking to wrongfully take her stall. You may recall that a few weeks ago, ministry officials and vendors at Arawak Key were in a standoff as agricultural officials attempted to change the locks on one of the stalls. But Sweeting says neither he or his ministry is in the business of destroying the livelihood of hard-working Bahamians.
We want to do what we can to empower and assist all Bahamians in whatever endeavors that they have. Unfortunately, the stall in question has had some issues. It is under review. The stall, the individual who currently is operating the stall, the ministry members have met with her and quite aware of the dispute over the 3 years.
Diane Boros of stall 21 Casa Del Mar said she leases the land from the leasing authority, but she built the building herself back in 1999. She recently had someone serve as property manager who then rented her building out. Attorney for the Ahwatukee Association and Diane Boros, Floyd Watkins, was adamant the ministry is not following the proper legal channels. However, ministry officials say they found that due process was not followed in relation to the ownership of the stall. Today, Sweeting says the issue is currently being reviewed.
Currently, we're going to have the issue sent to the Attorney General's office to be reviewed and then get a legal opinion on the issue. However, the stall, the individual is using the stall, and the former stall owner is quite aware of a dispute that's currently ongoing.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When our news comes back from the break, we'll tell you how much is being spent on preparation for next weekend's Carifta Games.
Female boxers weigh in for a world title fight right here in Nassau, and we see what happened in Game 2 of the NPBA Finals. Stay with us for Our Sports.
And later, we speak to a legendary singer who is making a return to the stage. We have all the details when our news returns.
This is Our News. Welcome back. Female world boxers weigh in for an upcoming world title match, and we look at Game 2 of the NPBA Finals. Tage Adderley is up now with a check on sports. Tage?
Hello, Italia. Good evening and welcome to Our Sports. I'm Tage Adderley. Female boxing is returning to the Bahamas after a 10-year hiatus. A 10-round world title match featuring Lindsay Garbat out of Toronto, Canada, and Jamie the Miracle Mitchell from Las Vegas is scheduled for tomorrow night at the Kendall Isaacs Gymnasium. The 8-round co-main event will feature Simone Silva of Sao Paulo, Brazil, taking on O'Shea Jones of Philadelphia, USA. We had a chance to attend the weigh-in. Mitchell is ready to go coming off a loss.
The correct changes that I needed to make to further myself in my career, and going ahead and getting new coaches, new coaching staff and stuff like that, and just learning how to get back to the logistics of the science of boxing. So I'm definitely happy with what I've been doing the past few months since I've made that change.
Her opponent, Garbat, is prepared for their match to go all the way.
I think you're going to get a really exciting fight. Me and Jamie both, we like to scrap, we like to fight. I think it's going to be a good scrap.
The fights are scheduled for tomorrow night in the Kendall Isaacs Gymnasium at 8 p.m. Be sure to get your tickets while you can. And the New Providence Basketball Association finals continued last night with teams in Divisions 1 and 2 playing their second game. In Division 2, the Produce Express Rockets beat the YES Giants 80-76 to tie their series at 1 apiece. Jefferson Oliver led the way for the Rockets at 21 points and 6 rebounds. In Division 1 action, the Commonwealth Bank Giants beat the Discount Distributors Rockets 101-83. Dylan Musgrove led the Giants with 24 points and 6 rebounds. Game 3 goes down tomorrow night at the AF Adderley Gymnasium. And finally, $9 million. That's how much it's costing for the local organizing committee to put on the 50th edition of the Carifta Games. That according to the committee's chief executive officer, Lyndon Maycock, who was one of the guests at the weekly press briefing at the office of the Prime Minister today.
In total of the entire games, you're looking on the operations, some $3.5 million, and on the capital works, some $2.5 million, and in total for the tracks itself, you're looking at some little over $3 million. And so, like I say, all of these numbers, if you need additional information, are posted to our website.
Maycock also used this opportunity to invite the Bahamians to come out to the games scheduled for the Easter weekend. He said Jamaicans have already purchased many of the tickets.
We are pretty much about 65, it's almost 70% with capacity in terms of filling the stadium. And so I encourage particularly the Bahamians to get your tickets. Jamaica's buying them up. And so please come and get your tickets. And that's all I could say.
And that's a wrap for sports. Back to you, Italia.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Corona, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
Still ahead on Our News tonight, legendary singer Phil Stubbs returns to the stage. Plus, your extended weather forecast is still to come when Our News returns.
Welcome back to our news. We saw winds picking up a little this afternoon while Greg is back in the Weather Center with a look at your extended forecast. Greg?
Thanks again, Natalia, and welcome back, everybody, for our final check of weather. Frontal boundary now into the central Bahamas with some isolated showers and thunderstorms associated with that system. We will continue to see that front side towards the south. It's expected to wash out by tonight and into tomorrow, and high pressure will build in behind that. Some more showers are still to the west of Andros, and that will continue to sag south as well and away from us. That high pressure will continue to provide some breezy conditions, but it will continue to push this front towards the south. Future forecast showing most of the activity just around the capital into the central Bahamas. But by tomorrow afternoon, we expect that front to wash out basically across the central Bahamas, most of the shower activity out in the open Atlantic, and then by Saturday, high pressure will continue to build across us with some isolated showers still in the forecast. Taking a look at a boating forecast for all areas tonight to tomorrow, those winds will be picking up. An advisory will be posted for the entire chain of islands. High rip current risk. Your winds will be out of the northeast to east at 15 to 25 knots. They will be gusting high at times. Seas running 5 to 8 feet over open waters in some northeasterly swells. Your low tide will be at 10:05 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your extended forecast, with that frontal boundary washing out across the central Bahamas, high pressure will build in, breezy conditions through Saturday, and then we expect another weak boundary to approach us by Sunday, but that one not expected to provide much in terms of any weather, and by next week, temperatures will be back into the 80s. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night, everybody.
Thanks, Greg. Legendary Bahamian music artist Phil Stubbs is returning to the stage this weekend after over 20 years. I sat down with the artist that is known for several hit songs in the country. He gave an in-depth interview on how his career started and how it feels to be making such a big return. Bahamian music legend Phil Stubbs is originally from Cat Island, but now resides in Grand Bahama. Stubbs is well known for his popular songs that describes the country's history, as well as its culture.
Call me pot cake, I'm in a poor state, yet I stay on guard, I protect their yard.
Stubbs, who has a background in music since he was a little boy, started to become popular in the community of West End, Grand Bahama, for his musical skills.
And a buddy of mine from West End, Michael Butler, right? I went down there with him, and I went in Emel's place, and I just felt this like spiritual connection.
And those performances continued for months, and it was in that community where West End Move was birthed after he observed two people dancing.
I said, this has got to be the West End Move. I've never seen it. I'm in West End. I'm gonna call this the West End Move. So everybody I knew in the place, I started picking, like, Charlie got a West End move, Jimmy got a West End groove, and I played it for like, 5 minutes, and everybody jumped on the floor and said, boy, play that song.
From there, he produced hit after hit.
I decided just write culture, because I mean, if you listen to most of my song, I'm telling history.
Stubbs says his career has been very rewarding, and after being off the stage for years, he says it's an honor to return.
It frightened me at the beginning. I said, boy, you haven't been on stage for 20 plus years. And then I said, hey, the stage knows you, and you know the stage.
Now the concert will be held tomorrow night at the Farm on Marshall Road.
All right, great story from Phil Stubbs. And with that, we thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening. On the Record with Jerome Sawyer starts now.